Joining me right now to talk about the next level tour with Nitro Circus is one of the freestyle motocross athletes, Bruce Cook. Bruce, let's start right there. What makes this tour so unique?
This one's actually a moto-only show, which means any contraption you've seen, and obviously freestyle motocross. So the contraptions will all have motors strapped to them now. And unique, talk about unique, is these ramps that have only been seen at Travis Pastrana's house and the Nitro World Games. Like these things are gnarly. It's something you got to see in person because I mean they're 16 feet tall and the landing ramps are even bigger. And we nicknamed them the moon booters because it sends you to the moon, these things. And it's these guys are warming up with double backflips now on these ramps, and it's a really next level setup.
In competition, you used to win with a double backflip. Now, if that's not just in your warm-up lineup, I'm sorry, don't even enter yourself in a contest. But at some point in time, this has to plateau. I mean, physics only says you shouldn't do a double backflip, yet here we are, double backflips all the time. Where is this plateau point? Have we reached it? Is there a plateau point? Or is it at the end of the day, Travis just kind of comes up with something new and says, let's do it?
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. It's guys like Travis Pastrana that keep the sport progressing, and that's what he's passionate about, honestly, is whatever the sport is, he's extremely passionate about progression, and I think that shows fairly obviously. But yeah, I mean, years ago in 2000, people thought it was kind of plateauing there and didn't think a backflip was possible. And then obviously guys like Carey Hart and Travis and a handful of others proved otherwise. And from there, it just took off with all the tricks that you do upright, upside down. And, now we're at the point where there's double backflips and, guys like Josh Sheehan and Harry Bink and a couple other guys are throwing the variations into the double backflip. You got Superman backflips and heel clicker double backflips, and it's basically build a bigger ramp, and if you got the guts to go for it, then you're gonna keep sending it.
Being a part of this tour is such a unique experience for riders across the board, whether you're on the freestyle moto side, the BMX, skate, and even in the World Games, part of things, adding sports like inline skating to kind of broaden that action sports horizon. What for you has kind of been that special moment to be a part of this tour and to kind of advance yourself in your career?
Yeah, I love that, and like especially like you said with World Games, just having that variety and bringing the skate back that used to be in X Games, and scooter is such a huge thing now, and it's impressive as someone that's passionate about extreme sports. Scooter used to be this kid's toy, but it's hard to not be impressed when you see guys like Ryan Williams going off the ramps and sending front flip 1080s, and I can't even literally can't count the spins and flips. He has to slow-mo it and tell me later. That's impressive to anyone, and these new ramps, and Nitro is really good about catering to the athletes rather than saying, here's the ramps, deal with it. Down in California working, endless hours on just progression with the ramps themselves and making these small tweaks for everything, for moto, for skate, for BMX, across the board. And that's really cool. And I think something that they pride themselves on. And that's what keeps the sports progressing. And, most importantly, kind of at as safe as you can in such a dangerous sports.
It can be dangerous, and you know that firsthand, especially with where you're at, the injuries that you sustained, and now pushing past that to the point to where the injury isn't even the hindrance anymore. You just do what you wanted to. How is that journey, and how has Nitro Circus allowed for you to kind of showcase to the world that it doesn't matter what gets you down, that when you fight and you get back up, you can get to right where you're at?
Yeah, it's been a hell of a journey. It was January 3rd, 2014 that I attempted the world's first double front flip on a dirt bike. Ended up under rotating a bit, which means basically landed vertically on my bike, got ripped off the back, and basically folded in half backwards, breaking my T11 vertebrae and spinal cord injury. And so that put me in the wheelchair, but it was never really another thought to not get back on the bike. You always picture what you want your last show to be like, and it's definitely not going out on a stretcher. You want to go out on top, or at least on a good note. So the second I was getting wheeled out of the arena, it was basically thinking to myself, okay, how am I going to get back on this thing and at least ride again? But for me, riding means turning it upside down. So with guys like the whole crew at Nitro Circus, their support, it likely wouldn't have happened, or it would have been a whole lot harder to make it happen without their support. And then especially, my ultimate goal was to get back in front of a crowd at least once, and that happened fairly quickly. I think quicker than anyone or myself expected. And that one show, it was just the feedback I got, the outreach from literally all over the world was so overwhelming that I decided to keep touring and change it from kind of doing it for me to try and send a message, basically just the whole never give up and get back on the horse when you get bucked off. And it's been awesome, especially being able to share that with the Nitro crew.
The tour kicks off this Saturday, May 12th in St. George, Utah. Utah's kind of the home of Nitro Circus. What is special about Utah to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically where Nitro was born, and with the Godfreys, and it was basically making these ramps not quite the same, definitely a little sketchier, slapped together with rusty nails and pallets and whatnot in the backyard, and just going for it basically. And that's where all the first videos and all the stuff, the old stuff that everyone's seen was filmed, is in Utah. And I live in British Columbia, Canada, so it's actually pretty similar landscape, and I just love it. Every time I go to Utah, it's somewhere I love to visit, and it's become kind of an action sports hub. So it's always cool, and the fans, you can definitely tell the difference. The fans are always super appreciative in Utah, and it makes it that much more fun to perform there.
Now, it's an all motorized show, and you have an adaptive dirt bike to be able to perform your tricks. But since it's an all moto show, we're going to add a little engine on the bottom of the wheelchair, maybe jump it?
Yeah. Well, I got like you said, got the bike outfitted now, got a cage around that and whatnot. And then, as I mentioned before, there's what we call contraptions. So I haven't even seen what they have rigged up yet, but I've heard there's a street bike and possibly a toilet and a Barbie car and all this stuff. Anything you can strap a motor to and send off a ramp, basically. I think there's a 3-wheeler coming out, and I'm as excited to see this show as anyone, because there's been a ton of planning on the back end going into it, and I'm excited to see this show.
Bruce, your story is awesome. You're awesome. Excited to see you on Saturday in Utah. Thanks for the time.
Cool, buddy. Thanks for having me.